Good morning, viewers. Hello, this is Vibhuti Jha from Jaipur Dialogue USA, your host today. And today we are going to talk about the election excitement of November 5, which is gripping the entire country. Now, a couple of things which are very important to bear in mind is that this is the election in which Kamala Harris, MHOF, is the Democratic Party nominee who didn't have to fight any primary or earn her vote. All right. This is very important to bear in mind. She did not have to call it a quirky chance or the management of the system. She did not have to go through the rigors of the primary without getting votes. So she had the votes transferred to her via Biden abdication of the throne. Now, many people would say, oh, Biden had said just a month ago that he is continuing in the fight and never going down. He is not going anywhere. But somewhere along the line, the swamp, the Democratic Party swamp, ejected him. Now we know a whole lot of stories from Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, how they persuaded him, quote unquote, to quit the battle because his numbers were sinking and Trump was running home. And then they realized that they have to bring in somebody who can at least walk fairly enough, even if she doesn't talk properly enough at all. So let's go to this basic issue that Biden Kamala, and I say it Biden Kamala primarily because Kamala Harris is part of Biden administration, regardless of how hard she may try to, you know, palm away herself from their entire thing. That was Biden, not me. It will not work. It was Biden philosophy. And as a Biden in his farewell speech in the convention, in the Democratic convention, clearly said that Kamala Harris was with him all the way. She's part of the entire process. Not only that, in several other interviews, when Biden's cognitive scenario was being questioned, his abilities were being questioned, Kamala Harris had made the bold, pompous statement that he is absolutely alert and he is the last man in the room and he takes his decisions on his own and that she is the last person he talks to. These are things which are we know now thanks to technology, thanks to the way the news goes out. But now what is the campaign like? There is suddenly there is a enthusiasm in Democratic Party that the old flailing man is no longer in the candidate, and now there is a youthful surcharge in the Democratic Party because you suddenly have a much younger, not necessarily young, but a much younger Kamala Harris, MHOF, running the show. So now we have a scenario here, policies versus rhetorics. Trump doesn't need to be known. He is known. As a matter of fact, there is nothing new about him anymore. There is one thing new about him, that he is far more guarded, far more careful in his choice of words in a time and era when words matter and people can play your words any number of times to convey your thoughts and processes. So he has learned the lesson. It was evident in the very first debate that he had with Mr. Biden. Trump was remarkably controlled, in control of the agenda, in control of the flow of dialogue. And it so happened, to the credit of CNN correspondents who were doing the interview, that they were fair and as against the common perception. I'm saying this is a statement, not matter of great concern, but it was a matter that people were virtually sure that the CNN people, Jake Tapper and the other lady, they would not be fair to Trump, but they were, and they deserve compliments from everybody. Now, coming to the issue here, what do you see is happening in the Democratic Party? What are they talking about? The future, freedom. Trump is a dictator, right? Freedom, future, threat to democracy, and Trump is a dictator. Somewhere along the line, since we cover the news, the same patterns were told against Mr. Modi as well by Rahul Gandhi and his ilk. So looks like somebody is writing the script for these two countries, opposition leadership, if I may say so. But importantly, future, freedom, democracy is all safe. Let's not get fooled by these political rhetorics because of a very important element. Think about it. It is 2020. In the last 20 years, of the 20 years, 16 years were under Democratic Party rule, 4 years under Republican, which was Trump. Think and think seriously. A party that is accusing the former President Donald Trump of being a dictator, of being threat to democracy, of future of democracy, the future of people, they ran the country for 16 years. Again, the same strange parallel that the Congress party that ran the country for 60 plus years was talking about threat to democracy by one man who actually protected and defended democracy. Otherwise, those very opposition could be sitting in jail just as Indira Gandhi had imposed emergency. Likewise, here in America, you are being bombarded. And I'm saying this, I knowingly full well that I'm a Republican. I was a Democrat, became an independent, and now I'm a Republican. Why? Because I see the duplicity of the Democratic Party behavior. They run the country for 16 out of 20 years and they blame the guy who was there for 4 years. Whereas his record is also in the open. Great economic recovery, great no peaceful peace around the world, and respect and honor. People make fun of it. Oh, he was trying to dismantle NATO. He was not trying to dismantle NATO. He only said, NATO guys, pay up. And if asking for contribution to the club membership is so objectionable, then why the hell do we have the club membership at all? So he made everybody pay. Why must America alone pay? This is critical for everybody to understand because Trump became a no nonsense guy. Look at it very interestingly enough. Democrat Party is talking about bringing about capital gains tax even on your unrealized gains. Now, if you have any iota of thinking cap, think about it. You are going to pay taxes in present dollars in present year based on your unrealized gains as well. It's like saying that I expect you to be the CEO of the company 20 years from now. Pay your taxes today on the what the inflated salary will be in 20 years from now. This is as ridiculous as it can get. And the policies. So Democratic Party is indulging in amazing emotional faux pas, emotional, blackmail to say, oh, Trump will bring about nationwide abortion, though he has said it many times that there will be no nationwide ban on abortion. They have abortion as a key issue, which is their favorite issue, which is where it turns on women that Republican Party is anti-women. But I wanted to ask, where is the anti-woman thing when you allow transgender women to use women's locker room, restrooms, and bathrooms, and allow transgender men, transgender people to participate in women's sports? How sad is that? And I'm wondering, why would any woman not ask this question of Democratic Party, whereas the Republicans are saying transgender men will not participate in the women's sports? This is a story of a recent times when a friend of mine, she teaches in New York City. I won't disclose more than that. And after her late night class, she went to the restroom and there was a guy standing there who said, when questioned, what is he doing there? He said, I feel like a woman. This has happened to an Indian professor in New York City. Think about it. If you have worried about abortion, think about what can happen before abortion. Ever thought about that? The annihilation, the humiliation, and the gender discrimination that happens on this account. So my question is very simple. ESPN recently let go a woman reporter who commented upon transgenders in the sports. My question was, ESPN, why don't you start a transgender games? And why not? You have the money, you have the screen time, you have the resources, and you have everything else going with it. Why don't you start a transgender sports games, transgender games? There are wheelchair tennis for US Open and tennis tournaments. There is special Olympics for people who are physically challenged, and very rightly so. Why not have a transgender games? Why destroy the unique character of women's sports? So just imagine Rafa Nadal plays, suddenly it announces, oh, Djokovic for that matter, he announces that, okay, I have the 22nd Grand Slam to win. I will break all records. So I will go and play like a woman because I feel like one. Think about it. These are issues which are very important. And then comes the economy, the immigration, Ukraine, Israel, inflation, you know, all these issues on which the Democratic Party doesn't want to talk much about. So you will hear a lot of shout from President Obama, and you have heard it. President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, how bad Trump is. So the guy who ran for 4 years, ran the administration for 4 years, is mentioned in Democratic convention as if he is a villain of the piece. But he is a threat to the order that the Democratic Party is trying to bring around. Look, they have failed on every single aspect of the economic revival. We know that just yesterday, I mean, to say that a few days ago, the employment number were revised downwards by 818,000 people. Data manipulation is happening. And this is where I always say the Democratic Party, tactically and in a manipulative way, is way ahead of Republicans. Democratic Party manipulates everything, every division, every segment. If the choice comes, now they are saying, oh, we take care of transgender, so we will take care of you too. No, you are doing a great disservice to every single community by dividing them on based on every single element. And that's the one thing that the aware voter must notice, that it's one thing to talk about immigration. Who will say no to immigration? We are all immigrants here. But what kind of immigration, what policies on immigration is happening? And this is the question that Kamala Harris and Mr. Walt's team must address, and people must ask. This, in my opinion, since 1991 that I have been seeing the elections in this country, this is the weakest president VP team. This is the weakest. And I can't believe that people who were making fun of Kamala Harris just a few days ago, the same Democratic Party and the media is going gaga over her. What did she do to deserve these accolades and these hyperboles that define her? I have nothing against her. I want to make it very clear. I am disagreeing on philosophical and policy matters. Ladies and gentlemen, I have pictures with me of containers, that shows the signs of Bidenflation and shrinkflation both operating at the same time. That a container of items that you bought in a restaurant has shrunk dramatically, but you are paying the same price. Think about it. It's Bidenflation and shrinkflation. You pay the same money for much less. Is hitting the country, has hit the country hard. You can see the lawlessness that has come about and the lies that are bandied about, which is the very sad part. See, that there was some border security person who was talking about that Kamala Harris has done a great job as an immigration czar. She didn't even go to the border, I think, only once. And her most famous statement was when she was asked that, why haven't you gone to the border? She said, well, I haven't gone to Europe either. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time November 5th is just round the corner now. The long drawn out election is coming to a close. And if it is true that we get the government we deserve, then you have to ask that question: do I deserve a government that is totally oblivious to my needs and my requirements, plays the emotional game? The reality is, the aware voter will think about how is it that we can print our notes through the problems that beset us. Today, America is $33 trillion deficit. Not only that, we are paying $1 trillion in interest payments alone. So when you announce your payment packages, freebies to the people that I will give this to you or that to you, you have to remember, where are the resources going to come from? And if it is taxing the successful, I won't say rich and wealthy, taxing the successful, but think about it, they can leave the country too. And that's beginning to happen. Freedom, the role of media is very important. And I think you and I must demand, accountability from the media. Because when you convey a wrong message or you stick to the wrong message, you are manipulating the minds of people. And that's where it is important. Be clear. Policy, emotions, and reality, they must run on three separate tracks. That's one. And number two, for 16 years, you have run the administration of 16 out of 20 years. You can't blame one person all the time. Third, it's very important to understand that divide and rule may be a smart way to win an election, but that's not the way to run a government or a country. With these words, I will say eyes, eyes open, ears alert, and see things clearly before you vote. Policies, emotions, and emotional jingoism. Avoid it. Well, this is the era where America will have to make a decision of a clear communist socialist ideology of equity and equality, which Kamala Harris talks about, that we must end up in the same place. Yeah, in a marathon race, everybody ends up in the same place. That's true. But not everybody gets the gold medal, right? Think about it from that perspective. If the Democratic Party talks about equity and equality, they will have to talk about accepting individual differences with respect and honor. If you do not respect and accept individual differences, all talk of equality and equity is meaningless. With these words, I say we will talk again. Until then, let truth be the winner. Thank you.